Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially health care. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
It's tax season, and at LifeLock, we know you're tired of numbers. But here's a big one you need to hear. Billions. That's the amount of money in refunds the IRS has flagged for possible identity fraud. Now here's another big number. 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed. One last big number. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast for the threats you can't control. Terms apply.
The Larry Kudlow Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Well, we're trying to sneak in some economics in this Iranian war broadcast. So let's bring in my pal John Carney, Breitbart news editor for economics and finance and co-author of the Breitbart Business Digest. John, thanks for being available. It's been kind of a crazy show so far, but one thing I wanted to sneak in, the PPI, Producer Price Index yesterday, jumped up, I don't know, the top line was 0.5, and the 3-month is creeping up to almost 5% at an annual rate. I don't know. I never trust this index, and I don't even know what to look at the index. So is this an inflation problem? Is this a tarifflation problem? I mean, I thought the stock market sold off yesterday because of it knew Iran war was coming. But putting that aside, what's your take on this PPI?
Yeah, so it's definitely not a tarifflation story. It makes it very clear that the inflationary pressures in our economy are actually coming from the services sector, and really tariffs at the consumer goods part of this. So there's a section in here called finished consumer goods, declined 1.3%. So it's the steepest drop since March. So when you look at I love the PPI numbers, but they're the most misinterpreted numbers that are out there. It's also often called wholesale inflation, because back in the 70s, that's what the index was called, but it has nothing to do with wholesale. This index is telling us that the inflation for January actually came in mostly from margin expansions, which is to say improved profits. That's a really volatile mix. The Fed generally actually ignores it, because if it goes up in 1 month or 1 quarter, it tends to then go back down in the next month or the next quarter. So the underlying inflationary message in this report was really that we don't have an inflation problem at all.
Yeah, services, huh? Services. So, where are we? I mean, Trump gives this really growthier speech. I loved it. Captivating speech on Tuesday, the State of the Union. Republican Party's behind him. They're behind him on tariffs. They're behind him on photo IDs for voting, and citizenship. They're behind him on ICE. And, I mean, to me, looking at what Trump said, and even this bombing of Iran, which you kind of knew had to happen, The Iranian leadership brought it on themselves. I mean, he's in a strong position. And, I just want to add, I spoke to John Thune, the majority leader of the Senate. I spoke to Mike Johnson, the speaker. They're behind him. This is unlike the first term when so many of the senators and House members were not behind. This is Trump's party. He gave out the talking points. The leadership is behind him. I mean, I'm just thinking, with a decent economy, they may defy history and they could win the midterms or do very well in the midterms. What you thinking here?
I think the timing was actually very good for Trump. We had a rough fourth quarter GDP number, but that was due to the Democrat shutdown of the government. That'll actually come rip-roaring back, I think we're going to see in the first quarter of this year when those numbers come out. I think we're going to get really good GDP first quarter. We should have good GDP the second quarter. I think the inflation numbers are going to keep coming down. Trump is actually set up to be, the Democrats, I think, are way overconfident about their ability to do well in the midterms because in their minds, they think the economy is terrible. They've been saying it so much, they've convinced themselves. There are polls that show that 80% of registered Democrats say the economy is contracting, which is, just completely bizarre and, out of touch with reality. So I think the economy is actually on an upswing.
That's why you've told me never to look at those confidence numbers because it's all a bunch of cranky Democrats who hate Trump.
Absolutely, 100%.
I know, you're exactly right. All right, John Carney, Breitbart Daily Business Digest. Thank you, buddy. I'm sorry we're running short. We will take a break, and on the other side of the break, we'll have some discussions about the stock market and money in politics, as always. I'm Kudlow. Please stick around. More coming.
Thanks for listening to The Larry Kudlow Show. You can hear The Larry Kudlow Show Saturday mornings at 10. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder,
what the heck is going on here?
Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our country has to offer, especially health care. Across every state, every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.